Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. A good friend of mine yesterday asked me, he doesn't know the Bible very well. And so when he asked me questions, I listen because they're good questions. They're questions that are asked out of lack of knowledge and wanting to know and understand. And so we were talking yesterday. He said, I got a good idea for your devotions. He says, why don't you talk about how come there's never an upgrade to the Bible? I said, what? He said, like the iPhone comes out with a new version that's supposed to be this. They'll come out and say won't get any better, and the next thing you know, iPhones come out with a newer version that's better than the one that wasn't going to get any better. And I said, well, there you can't add to or take away from the book. He said, what? I said, yeah, there's a verse in the Old Testament in Revelations that says you can't do that. He said, well, I never knew that. I said, yep. I said, it's covered. So we talked a little bit more, but it got me to thinking. Think about it. The Bible is, I don't know how many years old. There's 66 books. It's written by numerous people that are led by God to write it. Yet it evolves with time and is still relevant even up to today without ever having to be rewritten or upgraded or to change with the times or anything like that. I think about our Constitution. The founders wrote a really great document there, and it's pretty well straightforward in its wording of things, but yet politicians have managed a way to infringe on our benefits by just the way they word something. So a document, we can see from the Constitution, a document that was written really good, really explicit, really gives a good outline as to how to govern our nation by, but yet politicians have figured a way how to manipulate and write laws that go around the edge without changing the Constitution itself. They've added things. Of course, we have the Supreme Court, and their job is to make sure that we adhere to, the politicians adhere to the Constitution as the way it's written, but the court can also be influenced, or the judges with their personal beliefs can sway other judges and see things that are there that are not written in there. So while it's a good document, it's something to look at to see that man is able to manipulate and change a document that is written really good in how to govern our nation. But because we can read any of the articles and see how politicians have whittled away at them. But yeah, we can look at the Bible and we can see it has not changed. There's no additions, there's no takeaways. And no matter what topic you go to look at, you can find in the Bible, and it's addressed. And I told my friend that there's one verse in the Bible that even mentions that your name needs to be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And he said, really? I said, yep. So, like I said, his questions are good. They cause me to think. They challenge me in being able to explain why I believe and how I believe. And so he's challenging in a good way, and I appreciate his ideas, because that was his idea today. So there's two places in the Bible where it says do not add to or take away. One is in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, verse 2, and it says this: you shall not add to the word which I am commanding you, nor take away from it. You may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. And beside that verse, I wrote Revelations 22:18 and 19. So if you're one of those that says, well, the New Testament, since we have the New Testament, it cancels out the Old Testament. No, one doesn't cancel out the other. One is prophecy, and one is fulfillment of prophecy. The Old Testament prophesizes Christ's coming and everything that his ministry, his crucifixion, his resurrection, that's prophesized in the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, it come to life and it's written about. So the two books work together to form 66 books that forms one book. One that you can't take away or add to. And like I said, the other place it says this is in Revelations, the 22nd chapter, verses 18 and 19. And it says, I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues which are written in this book. If anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his part from the tree of life and from the holy city which is written in this book. Beside that verse, I wrote Deuteronomy 4:2. So, to answer my friend's question, that is why there's no additions to the Bible, no upgrades to the Bible, no however you want to phrase it, because the Bible is explicit in that we can't add to or take away. Now, there's one verse in this Bible that's very important, and it addresses whose name should be written in the Bible. And that's us, me, you. So when we accept Christ as our personal Savior, our name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And that's one thing that, I don't know how to phrase it, we should make sure that we have done to know that we're going to spend eternity. And how do we do that? We accept Christ as our personal Savior and follow Him in baptism and believe that He is the King, and do our best humanly possible to live how this book describes that we should live. And that verse is found in Revelations, the 13th chapter, in verse 8. All who dwell on the earth will worship Him, everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. So we need to make sure our name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life. But more importantly, we need to remember that we can't add to or take away from this book. This book is written how it's supposed to be, and that's how it shall be. But like I said, he did raise a good question. It got me to thinking all day yesterday. Why hasn't there been any upgrades or additions to the Bible? But like I said, those two verses in Deuteronomy and Revelations pretty well covers it. The book's written, and that's it. A good friend of mine, well, she's an adult now. I've known her since she was a child. She always said, God wrote it, or God said it, God wrote it, and that's how it is. And I think of that from time to time, and I like that little saying. So just remember that. God said it, that's His book, this book. He wrote it, He had men write it, and that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So we can't take away or add to this book, but my question for you today is your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life?